What's up, YouTube? Small Door here, and well, we got to talk about this. This is a major talking point after the reveal yesterday of the PS5 Pro. We all knew it was coming. We all knew the PS5 Pro was coming, right? But I think the biggest controversial stuff that's going on right now with the PS5 Pro has nothing to do with the specs, anything like that. I think, everyone can agree better specs is better. But it's this: the price point, as well as the fact that it does not come with the vertical stand and it doesn't have a disk drive. Now, I want to give you guys a couple different perspectives. I'm going to give you my personal perspective, and I want to give you the perspective I think of an average gamer. For a long time, I always considered myself an average gamer, your normal average day person who plays games. I work a full-time job that's completely not related to video games, and I game as my hobby, right? But it's pretty much one of my only major hobbies that I have these days. I've been getting into cooking and everything, but that's irrelevant. Cooking is kind of fun, though. But growing up, I've always had every single console. I had a Nintendo, I had a Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, moved up to PS1. I had a Xbox, PS2. I did not have a Sega Saturn or a Dreamcast. Those are the only two that I think I missed out on. I had all the handhelds: Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy SP, all of these things. PS2, I think I mentioned that. GameCube, Xbox. I did not have a 360 or a PS3 because that era was when I got majorly into PC gaming. I was already a PC gamer, but also I got more drawn into PC games. Essentially, what I was trying to say is I grew up very spoiled. I always had access to everything. I didn't really think about prices too much, right? I was the only child in my entire family, both sides of my family, until I was 14. And I have a lot of aunts and uncles. Now I have like a million cousins. But the price thing I didn't really think about that, right? And then once I started working and everything, I still was buying everything. Bought myself a PS4, bought myself a PS4 Pro, bought myself, Switch, everything. I skipped out on the current Xbox Series S, Series X generation because I have a pretty powerful gaming PC, since all games are on PC for Xbox, so I didn't really see a need for that. For me, I'm like, I don't want to call myself a PlayStation fanboy, but I do love a lot of their exclusives, even if they are timed. FOMO is a thing. Long drawn, out-winded way of saying, I initially, when I saw this price, I did not think, wow, $700, that's absolutely insane. I was just like, well, I mean, PS5's 500 or 600. I don't remember what it was or what it is. I was one of the fortunate people that got very lucky in getting my PS5 within a month of it launching. I got pretty lucky. I was like, oh, whatever. $700 seems fair, right? Most people would probably just trade in, their current PS5 for, maybe a couple $100 off or something like that. But then I started thinking about it. Because the other thing that I was thinking about too was inflation, right? I pulled up this, I think this is the one I'm looking at. Yeah. The PS1 came out in 1995 for $300. I'm rounding up the dollar. Adjusted for inflation, this is the IGN's article, it would be over $600, be $613. Right? PS2 would be about $545. I do know that this one is wrong. It would actually be closer to $900, but the PS3 they have listed inflation would go up to $778. There's been a lot of no thanks. Things like this. All the inflation goes up. The PS4 and the PS4 Pro are the closest ones to being in a normal price range. Okay, yeah, the PS5 was $500. This is at $700, right? But I'm like, It's like, well, the PS1 was, over $600 roughly for inflation. The 90s was a different time. Federal minimum wage hasn't really changed at all since then. Right? It's still like the same roughly, or pretty close to it. I don't know exactly. I didn't enter the workforce till the early 2000s. But people had more, I guess what you would call disposable income back then. Even if we were making less money, you were able to survive and live off of less money. So you had extra money to spend on things. And this was for the average person. Which is why I kind of think, even though I was spoiled growing up, I was, nobody in my family, especially at that time, was like very well off. They all had low middle class paying jobs, but could still afford these things. And on top of that, my parents owned a home at the time, no problem, things like this, and I think it's just because that was the thing at the times. We're living post-pandemic. It ain't the same, man. The landscape is not the same. So I after thinking about a lot of these things and looking at it again, this $700 price point for the PS5 Pro is actually insane. I am going to be on that standpoint of, for the average person, I think a good price point for the PS5 Pro should have been the exact same price that the PS5 is, and then lowered the PS5 maybe by like $100. Put the PS5 base to 400, and then put this to 5. Maybe 550. I think even 550 would have been acceptable. But here's the things that I'm now going to be on a little bit more on the other side. See, me personally, I'm still going to do it. I'm going to trade in my PS5 and get a PS5 Pro. Why? Because, well, I have the means to do it, so I'm going to do it. I have to have the latest and greatest. That's just me. Even if it's ridiculous. Now, I know I see a lot of people online that are also talking about, like, if you buy this, you're the problem. We have to stand together and boycott this. And if you buy this product, you're evil or whatever. No, I'm like, I want the new product. Sorry. Do I agree with its pricing? Absolutely not. But I'm going to buy it. It's just the way it is. Two things that I see a lot of people arguing, though, is like a major things of like, man, this is terrible. No vertical stand and no disk drive. Maybe I'm just very disconnected with the average gamer. I haven't owned physical copies of games outside of the Switch for like my first 3 games. Excuse me. Since 2013. And what was 2013? I believe it was 2013. Maybe it was 2014. Maybe 2014. It was when I got my first PS4, and it was the Destiny edition, and it came with Destiny 1. That's the last time I've owned a physical copy of a video game. Outside of, as I said, my first 3 games on the Switch were physical copies, because I wasn't really sure how the storage and all that worked. And then I switched to doing that, and then no more physical copies. I actually sold my physical copies and then re-got the games on digital. I don't like the space, it's taking up space. PC games, dude, I can't even recall the last PC game that I owned a physical copy for. I get everything off of either Steam, GOG, or some digital platform. It's the way it is. For me, it's better. I prefer digital. I don't care about having discs or anything. And the big thing that pushed this forward for me was I was borrowing a friend of mine's, because at the time I mentioned earlier in the video, I didn't have a 360 or a PS3 during that generation, and I wanted to play some games, and I had a friend who was like, "Here, you just borrow my 360, it's fine." And a new game came out, and you had to update the game. What? It's a single player game, and I had to update the game. Even though I already owned the game. I had the physical copy of the game, but I still had to update the game to even play the game. then why the hell am I even having a physical copy? It's kind of the way that I looked at it. For me, this is my own logical thinking. I'm like, what's the point of having the physical copy of the game if I still have to download content to even play the game? Day one patches are a big thing these days, right? And constant patches and updates and whatnot. Sure, yes, you could just disconnect your console from the internet so it doesn't download anything or whatever. But I don't know. That's just me. Call me spoiled, call me crazy, whatever. That's my view on that. So for me, this not having a disk drive, I don't care, because I would not want a disk drive in the first place. Vertical stand missing. This one I'm a little bit more torn on, because I do not have my current PS5 vertical. It's actually like right over here. I have it horizontal, on a horizontal stand. But it probably, I feel like that is something that it should just come with it, because, I mean, at the very least, just make an El Cheapo piece of plastic that could just, you could put the thing on. It costs them what, $5, whatever? I don't know. That I'm a little like, I'm not going to use it. I don't like putting my consoles vertically. To me, I don't like the way that stuff looks. Also, because I think when it comes to just the aesthetic, I think the PS5 and the PS5 Pro, I think they just look stupid. But, you know, it is what it is, I guess. All in all, I originally was like, $700, whatever, to I get why people are upset with this price point. I think it's actually crazy. And here's the other thing. And to me, this actually might be the biggest thing. The biggest thing when it comes to this PS5 crap, right? It's like I said, we've talked about that. The console is much more powerful. Great. Fantastic. Amazing. Let's do it. This console generation has how many PS5 exclusives? Oh, wait, that's right. Pretty much everything was also made to work on the PS4. What? Huh? I love my PS5, don't get me wrong. I play as many games as I can play on it. I actually prefer to play on my PS5. If it's a game that's going to utilize a controller, I'm going to be more likely to want to play it on my PS5 over my PC, even though I have a very powerful gaming PC. Just because of, I like trophies, whatever. But I have to say, this might be arguably one of the worst generations of consoles ever. Just due to, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure the pandemic had a huge impact on this, right? Because the PS5 came out in 2020. Guess what else happened in 2020? The shortage of the consoles, the price, how difficult it was to get one. I think that's what led developers making so many games also for the PS4, because so many people have a PS4. But like we're 4+ years into the life cycle of this console generation, and brand new games are still being made for a PS4 copy version of the game. Why do we need the Pro then? I don't know, man. Most of the games already run 60 FPS on like performance mode and things like that. The only thing I can think of, and as to why they would want to do this, is that this is going to be one of the longest console generations. Instead of, putting out like a PS6 in like 2 years, right? Which is what would be like a normal life cycle of a game, I guess. I don't know. But it's what we're dealing with. Guys, agree with me, disagree with me. I think most people are actually going to probably think I'm crazy. But that's where I'm at. I'm getting one. I don't care. But I'm going to do it via whatever, a trading in my current PS5 to obviously reduce the cost. But I also do not agree with the price. I think the price should be, I honestly think it should be $500, not $700, and lowering the base PS5 to $400. To me, that would be the best. Obviously, we know they're doing this because they need to make money, and then they're probably raise it an extra $100 to try to get even more money because, hey, we have no competition. Let's just get as much money as we can out of our players. I don't know, man. I don't care about the disk drive. Whatever. You know, people can be upset about it. I don't care. But the vertical stand thing to me makes no sense. Why is that not in there though? What? I don't know. I'm gonna get one, but I don't agree with all this stuff. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you got this far, like, subscribe if you like this kind of content. Comment down below. Algorithm matters. Even if you're here to tell me I am a terrible person and my viewpoints are absolute trash, or that you completely agree with me, let me know down below. All right. Peace.